Hello, and welcome to the One Income Family Podcast. Today's episode is going to be all about why you want to budget and stick to it so badly. Specifically meaning not throwing the budget to the curb when your numbers go over what you predicted. Life is unexpected. Things are going to happen. You're going to give into temptation. And when all of your energy is going into worrying whether you're going to stay on budget or not, your quality of life, it falls. That's why I want to share with you these 4 reasons that get you so wrapped up in having to stay on budget that you forget the purpose of the budget. Your budget isn't what controls your quality of life, your attitude is. That is why it is so important to know what could be affecting the way you are looking at your life. So go grab that stroller, pop in your headphones, and let's get to it. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family Podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. Mama, are you living paycheck to paycheck where one week you have plenty of money and the next you're just barely scraping by? I've lived that. When we transitioned from 2 incomes to 1, we lived paycheck to paycheck. Every payday, I would sit down and pay our bills for the next 2 weeks. I would then create a meal plan and buy our groceries right away so that all of our needs were met because, let's face it, I was worried that we would run out of money after we started freely spending it. My husband would always get super upset because we couldn't go out or do anything fun. We weren't able to save money, and it all just somehow disappeared out of thin air. I never knew where it was going, so I never set any goals further than that current paycheck, which made me rely on tax returns to pay for yearly expenses such as the renewal of our vehicle registrations. I want you to know that you don't have to live this way any longer. I invite you to come and learn the power behind a monthly digital cash envelope system and how it will release you from the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle that you live. I have been able to pay off debt to save more money than I ever thought I could. I have bought a house and renovated it. We've traveled to see family, go to weddings, and just because. It has been amazing. Come right now to calendly.com/Molly Bunnell. That's calendly.com/Molly with a Y, B as in boy, ENELL, and see if this has been the answer that you have been praying for. Have you ever sat down and thought about why it is that you're stressing over staying on budget? Like, why is it that you can't stay on budget? And what I mean specifically, like I said at the beginning, is that you have these predetermined amounts that you have, and because you can't follow that or stay on that amount, you just throw the budget to the curb. You're just like, well, I can't do this. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to go back to my simple money management system where all I'm doing is making sure bills are paid, food is on the table, and then the rest just goes wherever it goes, right? That is a stressful way to live. That is a way to not be able to, really grow your money and make it work for you, to be in that system, that mindset of poor man mentality. And that's not you. You've got the money. It's just hard to stick to, and you just give up, right? I don't want you to give up. That is why in today's episode, I've really laid out these 4 reasons that really like dig into why it is that you just throw the budget away because you're unable to stick to it. You just get upset with it. You get frustrated. So what is the motivation behind those reasons? What is keeping you from actually moving the needle forward and being able to stick to your budget, right? And before I dive into this, I just want you to know that you're not alone. Like, I have been that way. I have so many times, like when my husband and I are not getting along, right? He thinks that he can do it so much better. So then I'm just like, okay, well, what's the point in me budgeting, right? You do it, you do your thing. Now, that isn't one of the reasons that I have down, and maybe I should have added that one. But, communication is definitely one of the things that you should be thinking about. So take that as a bonus tip, because I don't actually have that in my notes for the 4 reasons, but that is also a big thing, is that communication. But what is keeping you specifically, not together as a pair, from sticking to your budget? I'm going to jump into what they are and give you examples along the way of what they feel like or what they look like in my life, right? So the first one that I want to talk about is comfort. Comfort is a reason that you throw the budget to the curb, because you can't figure out what that even means. Like, what is the definition of comfort? Well, I mean, if it's something that is unexpected to you, you probably haven't sat down and defined the word, right? But comfort, and what I mean by comfort is like having a Pinterest style house. So like when you look inside your house, everything looks exactly like all the trends that you see on Pinterest. And you get this feeling of comfort, and that you're not having to worry. You just really enjoy what your house looks like, because it just gives you that feeling of comfort. And what this looks like to me in my lifestyle is, like what I said, living in that Pinterest world. So my house, if I go inside my house, I feel unsatisfied with the way it looks, because 90% of everything that I have in my house has been given to me. I have not really bought it. So things are mismatched. Things do not look good. Things just, it doesn't give me a vibe of what I like, of what my house would feel like. And I've always said that, well, not me, but they always say that your house tells people what your likes are and everything. And when I come in my house, I'm just like, this isn't me. These aren't the likes of me. These are the likes of what people have either given me, so what they think that I like, or the things that we've just bought for cheap because we just needed to furnish our house, right? And so that is what my house looks like. That is not comfort to me. That is dissatisfaction, because I do not like the way my house looks. And I really want you to try to combat that thought, that feeling, because when you think of the fact, when you come in your house, that you don't have a house that feels comfortable to you, that feels like the house that you want to live in, the place that really just brings this essence of warmth and joy, and your family, like your family's likes and what really is important to your family, it just can weigh on you. And then you look at your budget and you think, well, I don't have the money to go and change this. And so all it does is fuel this dissatisfaction. It fuels this negative thinking, this negative attitude that then affects your thoughts of life, and that you can't live a joyful, happy life because you are so stuck in dissatisfaction of the way your house looks. And that is what I'm talking about with comfort. I've been there. I'm positive that you have been there. And when you're focused on that, your budget just feels like this big weight looming over you that you can't get rid of, right? And that's not what I want for you. I want you to be satisfied, to be happy with the things that you have. And then as you get the finances and you're able to save up for it, your budget can then tweak things in your house to make it feel more like you, but without you being so focused on the fact that you don't like your house, right? We want to get away from the dissatisfaction and get more into the, okay, I'm content with what I have. It's serving its purpose. It may not be pretty. It may not be what I want, but I know that I am able to save up for that in the future because I have my budget set up to be able to change those pieces out when I reach that goal. And when you have that mindset, that dissatisfaction disappears and you're able to then run with the life that you have. You're able to enjoy it. You're able to embrace the things that you have and make the most of it. And then when you're able to change it out, it just amplifies it even more, right? And so that's what you really need to try to change. I know it's not easy. None of these things that I'm talking about today are easy, like flip the switch kind of changes. They are mental work. They are things that you have to really work on if it's something that you really think is a problem for you, right? But by opening your eyes to these things, it really helps you to see the things that as they happen in your life, right? You're like, oh, well, this is happening right now and I never thought about it. And now that I'm more mindful of the situation, I can make tweaks to change it and stop living in that dissatisfaction, but in the joy and the excitement of life, right? Okay, so number 2, the second unexpected reason that you're stressing over staying on budget is that you have tied your joy and your fun and your happiness to your money. So what I mean here is like Instagram worthy vacations, right? You go out there and you see these fun things that people are doing and you're like, ooh, I want to do that. That sounds really fun. But I can't do that because I don't have the money for it, right? So we have tied our sense of joy to money. But there are so many things that you can do that have nothing to do with money, right? There are so many things that you can go out, like run through the sprinkler. That's something fun you can do with your kids. Sit down, play a board game. I'm sure you have plenty of those. And that's really fun to do. If you don't, go out, play I Spy, play hide and seek. I mean, there are so many things that you can do that are so fun and bring you joy and happiness that aren't related to money. I know it takes more brain power, right? And we want things to be easy, and that's what money is. Money makes fun and joy and happiness a convenience. It makes it simple, it makes it easy, it takes the thought out of it, and it makes it so that you don't have to sit down and go, all right, what can we do that's fun? What isn't silly? What isn't crazy? What isn't something that people would see and be like, okay, you're weird that you're doing that, right? We have that fear inside of us that somebody else is going to think that we're weird or that the things that we like aren't normal, right? But that is perfectly fine. We are not normal. Everybody is unique and weird in their own way, and we just need to embrace it and say, yeah, I'm weird and I want to do this. Maybe it's crocheting, maybe it's knitting, maybe it's baking, things that you enjoy doing that really doesn't cost a lot of money or any money at all. And you still have fun, you still have joy and happiness. So figure out a way to break away from those Instagram worthy vacations that you see. That doesn't mean that you can't go on vacation by any means, but you can go for a walk. You can go to a new city or a new town and find fun things to do there, like experiences rather than financial obligation to that fun and that joy. And you see what I'm saying there? Like, again, because we are focused on what the world says is fun instead of what we think is fun, we get into that sense of dissatisfaction. We get into that mindset that everything is terrible and bad because we can't do what the world is doing, right? We can't do the highlight reels that somebody else is able to pay for because they do have the finances to do it, right? And so, again, that's another thing I challenge you. I challenge you to separate the money from your joy, the money from your happiness, and find a way to be content with the things that you have right in front of you and to have fun with the things that you have in front of you. I mean, look at children. They have fun with toys that are simply a stick and a rock outside, and they can do immensely different things with it. It can be a sword, it can be a walking stick, it can be a stir stick. You know, there are so many things that you can do with that. You just have to use your imagination, which again, it takes brain power, it takes thought, and we're in such a busy world that we don't want to have to do that. We love the convenience of money, that we can pay for somebody to give us those ideas and we don't have to do it ourselves, right? So challenge yourself. Try to just think of things that you can do for fun that doesn't cost money. Okay, tip number 3, comparison and judgment. This again, we see with those Instagram highlight reels of people's lives. Who knows if they're real or not? Who knows if they actually enjoyed the trip, right? Because we're just seeing the highlight reels of it. It's kind of like in a movie, when you see somebody or when you see commercials for a new movie and they get you so excited and it looks so good, but they went through and they picked out the best parts of the movie. And when you go and watch the movie, it's kind of a letdown because the best parts of the movie were in the commercial for it, right? I'm sure you've seen lots of movies like that. I have. But I would get so excited for the movie, and then when I watch a movie, it just wasn't that exciting, right? And it's the same way, like when we get stuck in that comparison, which again, every single one of these things is just, it's just really like focusing us in on that discontentment, on that dissatisfaction, and really giving us a negative mindset instead of focusing on the good things that we have, instead of being joyful of the things that we do have and really making the most of those things, right? When we see that our friend next door is able to buy a camper, is able to buy a pickup, we get down because we have decided without knowing, like in that moment, we're so focused on, well, they're able to do that. Well, why can't we do that? You haven't sat down and thought about, well, what have I done instead? What priorities have I put that money towards instead of that vehicle? But that vehicle, for some reason, is what makes me feel like I'm actually showing, like the money is showing my work, if that makes sense. Let me explain. So my husband is really big on this comparison and judgment. I could care less what somebody else does when it comes to money. Like, it's more like, oh yeah, I see, if they can do it, I can do it, kind of thing. But my husband is more like, well, if they have it, then I should be able to have it, right? And he gets this sense of like self-worth tied to it. Like the work that he does and the money that he makes should mean that he should be able to buy whatever it is that he wants. And he sees his friends doing it and buying the things that he wants to buy, but he's not thinking about the things that he has bought with his money. Like, what has been his priorities? Yes, the vehicle is a want. He loves pickups and he wants a specific pickup, right? But he also hasn't thought about what, instead of buying that pickup, we've used that money for. Yes, there was a time period where we weren't able to save up, and this was at the beginning of our money management system. When we transitioned from 2 incomes to 1, we would live paycheck to paycheck, which, if you don't know, this is what I coach on, and I can help you get out of that paycheck to paycheck cycle. So go book a call if that's something that you need help with. But we lived in that paycheck to paycheck cycle, so we didn't really have a lot of money to save up. We did, but we didn't know how to manage that money in order to save up for the things that we wanted. And then once we were able to save up for the things that we wanted, instead of buying the pickup, we'd renovate the house. We would get the things fixed that needed to be fixed. We would get our vehicles, fixed and maintenanced and all that kind of stuff, which then wasn't able to save up to pay for the $80,000 pickup that he wants. And so that is why we should really just try to, again, stay content with the things that we have. And instead of it weighing down on us, these comparison things, if it's something that you actually want and somebody else does get it, yeah, maybe they're able to get it right now, but what are they doing? At what expense are they able to get it right now, right? Are they going into further debt? Are they living in a more inconvenient lifestyle because they have such a high dollar payment, right? So by living in that way, you are just feeding the discontentment, you're feeding the dissatisfaction, and making your mindset just really live in that negative mindset. And there may be a lot of this stuff going on. You may have more than one of these struggles going on that you never thought about. And maybe this is just bringing to light some of the things that you're like, oh yeah, and this is helpful. So what can you do to quit the comparison and the judgment? If it's something that you actually like, if it's something that you actually want, and you're just in that comparison because somebody else has it and you want it too, and you're just not able to get it right now, make it a future goal. Start saving up for it. Maybe you can't get it right now, but maybe 5-10 years down the road, you can save up for it, have enough money, and you can get it. Then you don't have to stress over it. It just may take a little bit more time, which again, in this world of convenience, it just makes it so hard to be patient, to sit and wait for those things. But if you can master that, if you can master patience and actually set goals for the things that you want, it just makes it so much more meaningful, so much more valuable. And when you actually get it, you're excited for a long time. It's not that short-lived excitement and you're ready to move on to the next thing. It's something that lives on for a while and you're excited about and you stay excited about it. Okay, so then tip number 4, or the fourth unexpected reason, is safety and security. And what I mean by this is you want to save up, right? You want to save up all the time and just be saving it for that time in the future that you never know is going to happen, or when it's going to happen, or if it's going to happen. And you just want to be prepared financially so that if somebody loses a job, you've got the money to cover it. If somebody needs something, you've got the money to cover it. You don't use that money for anything else. You just save it up for that security. There is a time and place for that if you do not have an emergency account, or a little bit set aside for, well, the emergency account, I kind of have them split up. So the emergency account for short-lived, and then the long-term emergency account, right? So you do want to have that saved up, but then you still want to be able to save for other things. You want to be able to live your life and not live in that constant fear that something is going to happen and that you're going to need that money in the future. I lived like that. I don't know how long. It's kind of the way I was brought up. I highly doubt my dad intentionally raised me that way, but my mom was sick for I don't know, when I was 10 years old until she passed away when I was 20. I was almost 20. That's what it was. And so for those 10 years, all I knew, and that was like me growing up and learning about money, that was like my big learning stage, right? From 10 to 20. And so all I did was save because I never knew if something like that bad was going to happen. And I stayed in fear, which again, if you're sitting in that fear, it makes you stay in discontentment. But I took that all the way until, well, a few years ago when I finally started calming down on that because I was able to think about my money. I was more mindful about where I wanted it to go, what I wanted to do with it, instead of just living in that constant security and safety and fear of what could happen in the future. And now I am using that money to save for the future, to save for things that I want to do, but I also have that backup plan if something happens, right? And so that is why you don't want to live there. All 4 of these reasons are just things that feed that negative mindset, that dissatisfaction that something is going to happen, or that somebody else has something else, or that I don't have what I want, and you're just living in that negative mindset of dissatisfaction and discontentment, and it just brings down your quality of life. And I know these things, like I said, are not easy to just snap your fingers and transition from one to the other. But by bringing them to the forefront of your brain, it's going to help you see maybe one of these things pop up in your mind and really realize what it is that's going on maybe in your finances and what's keeping you from staying on budget, or what's keeping you from want to budget, because it's easier to not budget than to confront these fears, right? It's so much easier to just throw the budget to the curb than to work on the things that are hard. And that is why I know it's hard. I know it's super hard to do the internal work. But once you do, the finances come so much easier. The joy, it just comes and it flows, and you're just excited all the time if you change that mindset. And so I really want to just, I don't want to say push, that's not the right word, but encourage you to take a step towards getting rid of that negative mindset and really embrace the positive mindset. Change your thoughts from I don't to I do, and really start embracing the joy in your life. Raise the quality of life that you have, that your family has, and make a joyful home, because you're not stressing over whether you're staying on budget or not. You're not allowing the budget to be the thing that affects the way you live. Okay, I'm going to stop there, or I'm going to just keep ranting on and on, because I don't want to throw you guys off. But if this is something that you struggle with, if you want help with changing this mindset, with setting up a budget that's going to further your joy, that's going to get you from the dissatisfaction to the joy, then come and book a call with me. Hop on a free clarity call. You can go to calendly.com/Molly Bunnell. That's calendly.com/Molly with a Y, B as in boy, ENELL. And really, let's just dive in and see why you're struggling to stick to your budget, and if maybe some of these negative mindsets are what's keeping you from really just exploding in your budget and being able to save and push through to the next stage, so that you can save the money that you want, you can do the things that you want, you can get out of the fear, and you can just live in a joyful life that you are craving to have. Okay, with that being said, I will see you back here on another episode of the One Income Family podcast. Have a great week. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review, and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you, and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community, where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family podcast.